Yo, I'm up your extra cat, and even though we're now approaching the tail end of the spring drop, the truth is Mojang are still adding many new features, including what might be my favorite feature of the entire update. I mean, look at this, how can you not agree? But they've also reverted the least popular change from the last snapshot and preview, and today I'll show you all of the changes they've made, not just how they relate to sheep, but also how they relate to both Java and Bedrock, because they both do have some exclusive features in this update. And then after we've shown all of the features, as I know a lot of you are subscribed for, I will analyze what this means for the broader update, and so let's go through it today, starting with, by the way, there's timestamps if you want to skip ahead, starting with the biggest change for Java players, because they've made 3 changes to sheep in this update, the first of which is the fact that if you're a Java player, you might be familiar with the fact that if you dye a sheep, you wouldn't be able to see what it looked like before. It would always look like a white sheep if it had no wool on, but now if you shear a sheep, it will show the color even though it is sheared, because he doesn't lose the wool around his face and his legs. I love this as a change. It's been around on Bedrock since the very earliest days, but they finally have brought it to the Java edition, which is great because they've brought this change instead of the one to do with sheep spawning. So here is the diagram that briefly shows you which sheep would have spawned in which biomes, but the Minecraft community broadly said, we hate that, and so Mojang said, sure, we'll revert that then, and so now the sheep that you'll get will be most commonly the white sheep in temperate biomes, it'll most commonly be the black sheep in cold biomes, and the brown sheep in the warmer biomes, which means that basically each of these 3 biomes will have their own most common sheep, but then there won't be any crazy uncommon varieties, it will stay as the regular ones. However, unlike we predicted previously, which is that, oh, well, we have a different rare variant, the blue and the orange sheep could stay as that, nope, the rare variant for each of the 3 biomes is still the pink sheep, no more naturally spawning orange or blue sheep, which is very good news for a certain type of player. Also great news, the third sheep feature, that's right, they're going crazy with sheep in this update, is this brand new sheep spawn egg, but it's not just sheep that got new spawn eggs, in fact 79 different mobs have spawn eggs. I put down the number of item frames there are there for that to prove how crazy that is, but I wanted to show you my top 7 before I showed you any of the others, because spawn eggs have gotten great now. According to Minecraft, the logic behind this was to differentiate the spawn eggs a little better, and I think they couldn't have done a better job if they tried. Here is the new bat spawn egg, this is one of my top 7, the witch spawn egg, and just look at it. How can you not agree? The creeper spawn egg is immediately recognizable, so too is the horse, and even the wandering llama, and even though it looks a little bit goofy, I love it. The fox spawn egg and the warden spawn egg too, and what you might notice across these is there's actually different sizes of eggs. If we go into the creative inventory, you can see this even better. There are 3 different sizes to spawn eggs, everything from chicken to hoglin, and the basic idea here is that you can tell the size of the mob just from its spawn egg. Endermites and chickens, as you can probably know if you know both those mobs, are substantially smaller than sheep, which themselves are substantially smaller than horses, and so having 3 different mob spawn egg sizes means that even someone who doesn't know all of the mobs in Minecraft, and that is increasingly going to be likely as they add more mobs and the game gets older, people can understand what a mob is a little bit better without having to spawn it and find out, and so I love this. There's so much I love about this, and I want to gush about it more later, but first, other changes. Here's the quote from Mojang themselves. Last year, 8 awesome new variants of wolves joined the game, and now they're getting their own audio personalities. This is a message which you might read and then think, oh, if we have all of these new variants of wolves, then they'll all sound slightly different based on the biome, but if we take a look into the changelog, what they actually say is that although there are 6 new variants for each of these sounds, they're randomly assigned to each wolf. In other words, if we just spawn 6 of the same type of wolves, they'll all sound slightly different. And yes, the saddest way we're gonna have to prove this is by using the ouch sound. This is the worst I've ever felt about something I've done in a Minecraft video. Anyway, the important thing is it's not related to the color, and so just keep that in mind. Minecraft is very color neutral with this, and it is a little bit odd to me. It feels like they could have gone for enough to give each type of wolf its own audio personality, but this is just another way in which wolves can differ, not just based on their external appearance, because you can dye their collars and get different colors and then dye their armor, but also they'll be different based on a random attribute that happens when they spawn. By the way, isn't it so cute, the little spawn egg for the wolves? Anyway, something else they've changed that I can show you using my exact same biome graph here is leaf litter will now change based on the biome that you're actually in. This is something which apparently was hotly requested. I'll be honest with you, it's something I hadn't really thought about, but is very smart. Basically, leaf litter has variants based on where you are, and they're very, very, very subtle from what I can tell. I mean, you can tell it gets much browner when we get to the jungle, and I'm sure it will get even browner when we get to the wooded badlands. kind of like a light brown. But ultimately, yeah, looking at the difference here, you can see it is a very slight twinge, just to make it feel slightly more like the biome it's actually in. So good news for leaf litter fans. I'll be honest, I used to not be that on board of it, but now I think I'm excited for leaf litter, just so that there's an early game smelting material, and so for me, it's not that big of a deal. But for you, maybe it is. Next up, we have the changes which were just made to the Bedrock version of the game, and the biggest reason as to why is that Bedrock has both different menus, but also is going to be getting a unique feature in the spring drop, and that unique feature is going to be pausing. Pausing does some weird things right now, and so given that a lot of these are fixes, I figured I would show you last week's preview so I can show you the things being broken, and so let's go into that now. Let's start by paying attention to my banner / shield here. This is the one that represents my country, and I wear it so that I can let mobs know that I'm not a big fan of spicy food or the sun, and so pay attention to what happens to this banner when I press pause, because you might notice for some reason it goes sideways. You can notice this in first person when you pause too, but the shield just goes missing exclusively when pausing, and if you pay attention to the top left, you can see it sort of fade off over there. That's right, the pause function has broken certain items when they're in the main hand or the offhand. Look at the trident, it goes backwards. How did this happen? How does it make any sense? I don't know, but it seems as though they had to fix these things, and so they have done so in this week's preview, 1.21.70.24, if you are curious, although I'm sure you're not. But what they've also done is made it so that fire will no longer play its animation when pausing. Apparently there were some issues where this is happening, although it says fire overlay will no longer animate when the game is paused, and I am on fire, and I don't see it animating when the game is paused, but apparently it was an issue they have now fixed. That's the really cool thing about going back to old previews. If you just look at something fixed, you'll trust that it's never happened, but I have proof here that they apparently have fixed that already. Anyway, we also have blocks will no longer play their animations when the game is paused. I'm guessing that means something along the lines of like, oh, that is weird. Oh, that is really weird to pause the game midway through breaking a block. The block isn't there, but then it reappears and then unappears. Very, very, very strange. What they've also changed is the way that taking screenshots work. So if I want to take a screenshot of my beautiful stairs, slabs, and signs world, did you just see that? I probably just hallucinated. Anyway, so if you look at my stair slabs and sign world, and I want to take a screenshot because I'm proud of it, what happens in the old preview is this will take you right back into the game, but after this, it's going to take you back into the pause menu, because if you're pausing and taking a screenshot, you probably still want to pause. By the way, they have still not fixed the issue of the screenshot button not working. You still have to pause the screenshot, but we'll take the baby steps, and also they've changed the menus. So just before I show you the new menus, hopefully, here are what the old menus look like. I've switched to using the Xbox to show off previews because it takes so long to come out for Windows, by the way. And a fun fact you might not know is you can't actually play the old version of a preview once a new update comes out. It physically forces you to uninstall if you don't get the new update. And so, I don't know, fun fact. Also, fun fact, I've been enjoying Avowed a lot. I'll probably be streaming it at the time you're watching this video. Love that sort of RPG, love Obsidian games. But you know what else I love? Looking at new menu screens, because we get to do it for the first time together now. I'm excited for this. Okay, so we're gonna go to create new, then we're gonna go to multiplayer, and oh, it has changed. Yeah, quite subtly, but the logo now looks kind of better, like visitor, someone's looking, member, someone who can mine, operator, someone who can do the slash commands. Yeah, I like this a lot, honestly. Although if you have people who can be operators, you lose access to achievements. Also, I think it changed in the most recent update, and they didn't say, but there's now a new you can't earn achievements thing. It's like this little, it's like double high now. It's extra shameful if you have this turned on. Just something important you might want to know about. Also, there's new UI stuff coming out all the time, but I can never tell, if I'm being totally honest with you. Anyway, so speaking of things I can never tell, let's now dive into the analysis, shall we? So the first and most important part of any analysis of a snapshot and preview week is what actually came and how much was it, and ultimately having to remove so much work with the sheep from last week means that this is still a pretty decently sized preview. I mean, we've got the sheep changes for Java, that's quite nice. We've got the new wolf variants and the leaf litter, and then the fun changes to make pause more functional in Bedrock, as well as indeed fixing menus, something that always needs more work. These are great quality of life changes, but the biggest quality of life change by far far is the new spawn egg sizes. I love these, and I think that this is really, really clever because, you know, they've kind of done the listening to feedback thing in the perfect way that I think we should actually be asking Mojang for. As the community, I think too often, you know, especially I am a part of this, I yell my opinion in these videos, but we often say, like, here is what Mojang should do, we know better than Mojang, and on some things we clearly do. Like the sheep changes, for example, clearly they think that if too many people look at it and it seems bizarre, it's not a good feature, but also too many people start to get, what's the word, high on their own supply and assume that their ideas must be the best ideas ever. Like if you were to ask the community, what feature should you add to the spring drop if you get one little one from here, people might ask for a new color of fox or a backpack, or indeed like a, you know, a slightly different colored wolf or whatever, but ultimately this is a much better quality of life change. All of these spawn eggs are exactly the sort of thing that nobody would ask for, but that makes Minecraft so much better in the long run. I think this is the genius that the spring drop is effectively going for. When you look at every single feature, they're all examples of, yeah, this would look weird if we didn't do it, no one is particularly asking for it, but it makes the game look that little bit nicer, and soon you'll wonder how you ever used to live with it before. I think that this is a really fun niche set of features, and it's a really hard thing to you actually go for, and so the fact that they've done it for quite a few weeks in a row now is very, very impressive. And so, yeah, I love the new spawn eggs. I think they are the standout feature, not just of this snapshot and preview, but perhaps of this entire update. I really think that between this, the lodestone changes, and the leaf litter, I don't need to care about anything else. This is an update that makes Minecraft better in those subtle ways that is going to help it survive in the long run, which is something I think is important. And speaking of the long run, we should ask, is this the last snapshot and preview? Is this the last set of features we'll be getting? Well, I would say, based on looking at the number of previews they've done for each of the last 4 drops, and just a reminder, by the way, some people have been saying it's not called the Paws and Claws update. I would like to issue a correction to those people for being so horribly wrong. It's definitely the Paws and Claws update. Armored Paws does not sound anywhere near as good as a title. But anyway, so the Paws and Claws update, and all of the other ones here had 5, with the Garden Awakens having 7 betas and previews. And so, given that that is the pace, right now we are on the 4th preview, although it's called 0.24, so internally it might be the 5th preview for the spring drop. Officially, they could, you know, following the previous pattern, they could just be releasing this, or more likely, they could be doing one last bug-fixing preview, and then they would have to start rolling it out, and that is something that will affect you even if you're on Java, because obviously, if they finish adding features to Bedrock, they finish adding features to Java. And so, is this the last update? I think most likely yes. It is possible they push out another set of changes. I think, especially given all the texture work in this update, it would be a surprise, but I'd love to see them add hot and cold variants of the sheep in a more traditional way. Maybe they think that the colored wool is good enough, but yeah, ultimately, I think that this is a very good update so far, and I would love to see what they actually end up calling it, because I don't know how you would actually name this collection of features. Is this like a seasons update to Mojang? Because the game is a lot more seasonal now, but also it's just got a bunch of different quality of life. It kind of is the update which goes through and fixes things that Minecraft probably have needed for a while, but have been too busy working on the major themed updates to do, and so yeah, I don't know what they'll call it, but when we get a name, that's when we'll know much better about what exact release date target Minecraft are going for. If you don't know, they did confirm they're releasing it in March, and I am very excited for that March release date, but which of the Tuesdays will it release on? I guess that's something we'll have to wait and find out in the future. So with that said, let's now conclude. I love to see these changes. I can't stop looking at the new spawn eggs. They are all so adorable, and they're the perfect example of a feature that nobody would have asked for, but everyone wants and everyone is happy with. I think similarly, the changing of the Java sheep is pretty cool. I would love to see some, you know, parity moving the other way, although I guess in this update we can't complain, given that pausing might actually be coming to Bedrock in just 1 month's time. Although, you know, we felt that was going to be true a month ago, but this time for real, maybe. Yeah, this is the spring drop so far, perhaps the last set of features, and so I look forward to seeing you next week when we can confirm if that's true or not, and I also look forward to seeing you in my Avowed stream if you feel like joining me for an RPG session, and otherwise, I hope I'll see you next time. Goodbye.